It was the year of fire.
The year of destruction.
The year we took back what was ours.
It was the year of rebirth.
The year of great sadness.
The year of pain.
And a year of joy.
It was a new age. It was the end of history.
It was the year everything changed.
The year is 2261. The place, Babylon 5.
Hello, and welcome to Chats, a television podcast, Season 6, Chatzylon 5. My name is Alan, and I'm joined by the man who touches passion when it comes his way. The man who has a face that you can both trust and fear. The man who doesn't wait for the universe to start making sense. It's Magellan.
Wow. That one I think is the most happy I've ever felt when you've read one of those. Except the one where you said that you were my best friend because we were best friends because you couldn't find anything else.
Yeah. I always try to waffle between, like, just weird, like, confusing, like, what is he saying about me? Or, like, oh my god, I'm so flattered! That's where I really want to land.
Yeah, that one was really nice. I also like that you said Chatzylon 5 as if you were John Sheridan at the end of the intro.
The name of the podcast?
5.
Chatzylon 5. Da-da-da-da. Hi guys, it's Chats. We're the Chats kids.
We're Chats kids.
I don't want us to be the Chats boys anymore because gender is fake and it's a lie made up by the government, right?
Yeah, I mean it's if we decide that we identify as boys, or you don't want anyone to be a boy because you think it's all fake.
I don't want myself to identify as a boy.
Fair. Okay. We can be the Chats kids.
Which means that there has to be a Chats Adults, which is our $20 Patreon tier.
I think it's when the cat's away. The kids will.
The Chats kids will play.
When the cat's away, the kids are all right. That's the full title of that movie.
When the cat's away, we need to talk about Kevin. Fucking cancel the podcast. It's
when the
done.
cat's away, what's eating Gilbert Grape?
Hold on. Oh god, this mess of a podcast is Chatzylon 5, where we watch 2 episodes of Babylon 5 every single week. This week we watched Season 4, Episode 11, Lines of Communication, as well as Season 4, Episode 12, Conflicts of Interest. Lots of ofs this week. Lines of Communication was written by Jumbo Mungo Straczynski. It was directed by John C. Flynn III. It aired April 28th, 1997. It takes place from May 13th to the 16th of 2261. John, do you have a problem with how I pronounce the writer of Babylon 5?
No, it feels more like a solution than a problem.
If he has a problem, he's welcome to come on the show. JMS, come on Chats. That's what you need
JMS.
To do.
We're gonna keep making up names for you
until you're on our podcast,
guy,
for kids.
Big man.
Come join the Chats kids. He responds to everyone on Twitter. I always feel like I have this power. Like if I tweeted at him and said, "Hey, we do chats. Would you be interested?" He might say yes, and that scares me more than it excites me.
It's really scary.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't want him to listen.
No, I want him to listen. I want him to be like, "Wow, the Chats kids never like the episodes with Lanier." I want him to be.
But they love Lanier himself. It's a conundrum.
Magellan, what happened in Lines of Communication?
Well, Alan, in this episode, Delenn makes contact with an alien race called the Drakh, only to learn they once served the Shadows. Sheridan comes up with a way to counter President Clark's propaganda machine.
Oh.
Alan, what did you think of Lines of Communication?
I think this episode is solid. We are now kind of hovering in that solid snake.
Yeah.
We're hovering in that nice point of mid-season 4 where the show is just kind of going through the right motions and building to interesting things. And like we said last week, the Mars Rebellion stuff is going places. Mm-hmm. I think that the plot line that I found the most emotionally resonant was actually, the Voice of the Resistance stuff and Ivanova taking control of this radio station and all that. Just because I think it's really cool of a sci-fi television show to emphasize that not only is propaganda a thing, but counter programming needs to exist in a world like that. It's not just something we can ignore and forget about. It is our image to Earth matters, and we need to fix that.
Right.
And what better way to do that than to put Ivanova in front of a camera and a microphone and have her say nice things about Babylon 5.
Mm-hmm.
What about you? What did you think of this episode?
I thought that this one had some genuinely very charming character stuff. Like it kind of had more jokes than usual, which I appreciated. And it was also more tense than usual at the same time.
Totally.
Like I was genuinely scared of the Drox and just of like whether or not the Mars stuff is going to go okay. I think what I'm realizing now that like the gods are gone is there's not, I don't really have a supposition of like everything's going to work out for the heroes anymore. Because we're not locked in this kind of like cosmic good versus evil thing where you know that the mythic heroes are going to emerge victorious. Now it's this kind of like messy real world scenario where I kind of feel like things could end badly in one or more of these plot lines.
Right. This is a very tense episode. I think that's why the Voice of the Resistance plot was the one that I was like, they planned something and it went pretty well. Like, that's great, because otherwise there's multiple conversations in this episode where people are like, yeah, I'm not sleeping. I have not been sleeping because things are bad.
Right, yeah.
Between Delenn having to deal with like a whole people at war, between the Mars Resistance deciding that maybe being terrorists is not a good idea if you want to make change. Like, it's heavy. It's really heavy. Speaking, I want to talk about the Mars Resistance stuff first because it's mostly self-contained.
Great.
We find out early on in the episode that civilians are being killed on Mars and the Resistance is to blame. At first, we think that maybe this isn't actually them and it might be some sort of like lies or whatever. And we find out very quickly that it is totally them. And number one finds the guy whose name is Philippe. And she's like, Philippe, why are you dropping bombs? And he's like, because it was a good idea. Someone said I could. And she's like, you can't drop bombs, Philippe. Not when we're supposed to be the good guys. No one, and like you're dropping bombs on civilians. This is very heavy, serious, real world stuff. Undercut, of course, by the fact that he claps back at her and says, "Is this how you treat all your former lovers?" And she's like, "As a matter of fact, yes." And you're like, "What dumbness?" Yeah. How did you feel about the reveal that like, the Mars Resistance is totally like killing civilians?
I think that it's a good reveal that just happened too soon. Like we hadn't really. I thought we were going to spend more time on Mars, because next episode we're not on Mars anymore.
Yeah, Franklin's like, hey, I'm back. What's up?
Yeah, I was like, you are? What did you accomplish over there?
Well, they have that big speech later in this episode. I think that was their kind of objective.
It was just to say, like, we're going to help you?
Well, it was, we're going to help you. If you guys help us, Babylon 5 assassinate Clark, then we'll give you your independence. And then that's kind of their trump card.
I just wanted more time on Mars. Like, I wanted some time to get to know the Resistance and see the things that they normally do.
Right.
So that them committing acts of terrorism was like a shock to me.
Mm-hmm.
Because I wasn't really bought into thinking that was a bad thing, I guess.
Yeah.
Like, it's a bad... I'm not advocating that you kill civilians, but I just think that we needed to sort of live in that world a little bit more and see what Mars looks like in order to feel that development as opposed to being told to us. Because it kind of just turned into this, high school history seminar debate of like, is violence justified in revolutions, which is an important conversation, but I didn't really feel it as like a narrative, and it was more of an opinion column or something. And it was so clear that our main characters, there's no disagreement between the main cast. There's not a moment where Marcus is like, well, actually, maybe they have a point. And I kind of wanted that.
I do
for
like one of them would at least say like, "Hey, there's a reason they're bombing them. It's not just like they're bad."
I wanted it to be more of a genuine controversy instead of Marcus and Franklin lecturing them. Because then the Martian people, should we call them that? Martians? Is that?
Yeah, I mean the rebels or the Martians. Yeah, they are Martian rebels.
Because then the Martian people, their response is like, you don't know what our culture is like. You don't know what the situation is here. You can't just ride in and demand things of us. And I think that's true. So I think it was a really cool thing that happened too soon.
Right. Right. It goes by really fast. I think this is almost a problem with the format where we only have so much time to focus on different characters.
Yeah.
We talked a lot in the early seasons of this show about like how we wish there was more time spent on the characters that we like. And I do think that the Franklin and Marcus stuff could use a little bit more time in the oven just because it goes like blink and you'll miss it, And it's this really serious plot line that's honestly being kind of undercut by I still really like Marcus and Franklin's friendship and interactions with each other.
Me too.
I think there's a scene in this episode where Marcus is telling Franklin like, "Hey, I totally know that you're sleeping with number one. Like it's the most obvious thing in the world." And he's like, "No, I'm not." And he's like, "I know it is, and no, I know you're doing it, and I'm not mad about it. Like I don't care that you're doing that. We're not gonna make a plot out of this."
Yeah.
He's like, that's where he gets the line, like, touch passion when it comes your way, Steven. Don't walk away when it calls your name. Like, Marcus just says these beautiful little nuggets of, like, it's okay to be passionate, even when you're in war. Even, like, if I seem like, he kind of acknowledges his position, too. He's like, I know I sound hilarious. I'm like, I'm the guy who knows you're having sex, and, like, that, I'm next door, and I realize it, but I don't care. It doesn't bother me. It's valid, and it's okay to want to love and be intimate with someone, even in times of conflict.
Yeah.
That's just all right. And that stuff is good. And then it's like that stuff happening with this undercurrent of like, there's a war going on. We need to band together and get these people to work with us. Yeah. My last thing is I just think that the speech that Franklin and Marcus together give to the Martian rebels being like I said, work with us, work with Babylon 5. We are going to kill President Clark and you're going to help us do it is like really good. Cool. Yeah, they're just saying it. They're not like, we'll take him out, we'll get rid of him by whatever means necessary. They're like, no, we're going to have you help us assassinate him. And that's going to be a good thing. And then you're going to get your independence, which will probably cause us huge problems in the future.
And I love that Franklin is still like, one of his fatal flaws is still that he just thinks he's the savior and thinks that he's going to single-handedly fix everything.
Yeah.
And thinks that, like, he's right no matter what. So he didn't talk to Sheridan about this. Nobody said, like, go to Mars and tell them that they'll be independent. He's like, okay, well, seems like the right time to make this promise. And people will probably agree with this. So let's do that.
Right, he's taking that into his own hands, and that'll inevitably bite him in the butt.
Yeah, that'll cause problems. Yeah, I think this is an episode where Marcus really shines as a character.
Uh-huh.
I think Marcus and Franklin makes a lot of sense to me. I don't really like Marcus and Ivanova interactions that much, because he's sort of like the fun guy and she's stuck up, and that just feels not...
It's a kind of odd couple dynamic that I'm not interested in seeing in this show.
It also just isn't fully true to either of them.
Mm-hmm.
Which I guess is kind of how flirtatious relationships can work. Like, you sometimes play up certain aspects of your personality, but like, I don't see Ivanova as like dour and humorless, She's actually pretty funny.
She's very funny, yeah. She's very lighthearted and empathetic. It's but like with Franklin, it's like, hey, I know that you have a sensitive side in you, but you also like go against your own better judgment a lot and make some dumb decisions, is what Marcus is kind of saying to Franklin. And he's like, it's like, you're okay. You're allowed to be a mess.
Yeah, and that's really important for Franklin to hear.
Yeah.
Like, it's someone who can tell Franklin that he's kind of full of shit, and he'll actually listen to it.
Right.
And I don't know if there's another character who can do that for him.
Mm-hmm. their ending moment is interesting for sure.
Yeah.
Everything else has happened. We'll get to the Delenn plot, which is big, but we come back to Mars at the very end, and when number one walks out of the room previously, she goes, "By the way, Franklin, want to get dinner?" And you're like, "Cool, they're gonna have more sex." And then at the end of the episode, where we cut to Marcus sitting outside playing with his staff, and he just hears number one being like, "Franklin," like
Or Steve.
Yeah, Steve. Yeah, she doesn't. She specifically says, "Oh, Steven," which is icky. And he's like, instead of being like, "Oh man, I'm sad," or being anything, he just kind of is like, "Yep, gonna keep playing with my stick here. I continue to be the virgin on the show."
Yeah. So, how do you read that scene?
Based on the conversation from before about touching passion when it comes to Ray, I think it's Marcus at the end of the day being like, Steven is taking my advice, and that doesn't necessarily make me happy.
Yeah.
Like, I'm glad he's doing it. I'm not mad at him or anything. I don't hold any bad blood because I literally told him this is all right. But sometimes it's just kind of weird to see it happen and to know that it's happening. And it's awkward. Like, you're right outside and you're...
like that's his buddy.
Just banging out in the next room. Yeah. I think, and there's, an easy comedic read of like him playing with his stick outside of a room with two people having sex.
It's like masturbation.
Yeah, exactly. But it's like, I think it's more the show and Jason Cole's performance being like, "Yep, this happens a lot." I'm sure he's been in a very similar situation before.
Yeah.
And he's just kind of let it, like, going with the flow.
And there's some kind of like wistful jealousy probably of like that. It seems like Marcus wants...
He wants something like this.
He wants to be able to grab passion when it comes your way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's the classic, like, can give the advice but not take it character. And I think Marcus...
It was a really humanizing moment for Marcus that made me like him as a character a lot more.
For sure. He's grown on me in a big way.
Yeah.
In no small part due to Cole's, like, very nuanced performance. It's very, like, subdued, I guess. What's not subdued is the Jock plot and Delenn's whole situation. Minbari, who we find out later his name is Pharrell, like it's spelled Forell, but I couldn't stop hearing it as Pharrell, like the song Pharrell. Happy. No, that the NERD song Rockstar, where they're like, what's the like questionably like gay sounding line in that song? Oh yeah, don't you know that we swallow guys? You don't know that we swallow guys. And you're like, hold on, wait a minute. 2005 Alan is like, hello? No, yeah. So Pharrell is like, hey, Delenn, there's like ships being attacked and we're doing terribly. You need to immediately like figure things out right now.
Yeah, I thought we'd get more build up to like shit's going down on Minbar. But it's kind of just like we'd been supposing there's going to be some problem. Because Delenn dissolved the Grey Council and became like a dictator of Minbar. And we were like, this doesn't end well. And then I thought there was going to be some kind of, what's his face? The guy that we like? Naroon being like, Delenn, I've launched an attack on your fucking house.
Yeah.
We're going to fight.
No, it's way more sad. Because the Minbari can't kill each other. So instead you get Pharrell being like, yeah, the one cast is leaving the other cast without a home and letting them freeze to death, which doesn't count as killing them. Like, oh my God.
Right. And I liked that the way that we hear about it is he's like, oh, Delenn, by the way, while you were gone, like all hell is breaking loose.
Yeah. People are just dying and killing each other without killing each other, basically.
Yeah. So Delenn decides, I gotta do something about this. I can't just sit around. I gotta go home. And so Pharrell takes her to a specific little chunk of space where there's some new friends hanging out and waiting.
Yeah, we got new pals.
Yeah, new great nice pals. And they sort of come in as a grainy dancing Emperor Palpatine kind of guy.
They come in at like 3 frames per second, like blurry footage. It's so weird.
Power Rangers ass costumes.
Yep. I don't know. I mean, I get it. Like, it's supposed to be this almost Lovecraftian, like, I can't even process what I'm looking at kind of thing. But it just, the thing I got the most out of the Jock plot is like, it really says something about the world of Babylon 5 that you see an alien like this and you're like, oh, hey, best friend. Like, really? Really?
Yeah,
You're looking at a guy like that.
Guy's so dumb. The Minbari guy, Pharrell.
Pharrell, yeah. His
So dumb.
choice to believe that is like, it feels absurd. But it's kind of like, what other options do you have? Like, we were talking before
that's how
podcast.
desperate he is.
We were talking before podcast about, like, they're kind of like doing a Londa Malari thing where it's like,
Mm-hmm.
people are killing each other on our planet. We have no hope. We have no leadership. We might as well have some allies.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care if they're clearly villains.
Right.
Because they also think, like, the shadows are gone. What could they can't be that bad. They came from another planet that was destroyed. Isn't that so sad, Delenn? He pulls a gun on her and says, basically, you have to listen to this guy. I don't want you to have the option not to because I know you're going to think he's weird, but he's cool. I swear he's cool.
Yeah, he's my friend Breg.
My friend Breg.
My
And
friend
Breg,
Brandon.
comes on the ship and is like, hey, guys, I'm from a far away planet, and I'm
from
sad.
Canada.
I'm from Canada. I'm the Canadian boyfriend.
Yeah.
And then he leaves, and he's like, "So we'll work together." And Dylan's like, I guess maybe. Like, I don't know this seems weird. All right. He leaves. She goes, "Wait a minute. How does he know who we are? How does he know this, and this thing?" Like, he just kind of like has some information that he drops, and she realizes, "Oh, wait a minute. What planet just recently got destroyed? Oh, Zahadum. Oh,
shit.
that was them. Remember when Lita helped destroy Zahadum, and we were like, what? These people came off. It's these guys.
Yeah.
The Drakar were emissaries of the shadows.
Fuck.
Oopsie.
Not good. Not
Oopso.
good. Not good. Yeah, they like almost make a deal, and then the guy's like, "Oh yeah, Delenn, that's great." Drak goes, "Delenn, oh,
I know that name. Yummy."
As much as I thought that the Drak design was corny as hell, I found them genuinely scary because, again, and I was texting you about this, I never was afraid of the shadows.
Yeah.
Because when we were fighting the shadows, we always had the Vorlons with us. And it's this sort of primordial force of evil that it's going to end with them being destroyed or put back into balance or whatever. And you've been told that there were shadow wars before. Mm-hmm. So it felt like a foregone conclusion that was going to be fine. And even when the Vorlons turned out to be bad also, now we have, freaking God Zaddy on our side. What's his face? The crinkle face guy? Oh, man. The old guy.
Lorien.
We have, like, God with us, so we're probably fine. But now, we're in this new world order where there are just dudes, these aliens, who don't care about anything. Like, they're not the shadows who are trying to convince people to side with them. They are just trying to burn it to the ground. They're angry, and they're unpredictable, and they're manipulative. To the extent that even a Minbari, who we think of as like the wise species, who are not going to turn to infighting and not going to turn to being duped into things the way that the Centauri were, even one of those people thinks that the Drak are legit. And that's frightening. And then the part where the White Star is like zooming around and Delenn's like, fucking kill him.
Do some skin dancing, Lanier.
I loved that.
Skin dancing. Skin dancing is one of those classic Minbari things where it sounds really cool and all it means is that you hug the hull of the ship and don't get shot at. Because she's like, Lanier, do you know the ancient Minbari technique of skin dancing? And he's like, if you gave me 3 years and like hardcore studying, I could probably grok it. And she's like, how about 3 seconds? And he's like, okay.
Yeah, I was just kidding before.
That's the most. That's the tropiest shit, right? Is what
but I was very into it.
Yeah, again, Babylon 5 in a nutshell. It's the thing you expect, but it's done in a way you love.
Right, and I like how this is positioning Delenn, or where it's taking her character, because when she's leaving, Sheridan says, no, like, just send Lanier. It's fine. You can hang
Yeah.
out with me, baby. And she says, John, it's very nice that you are worried about me, but remember that I almost decimated your species in a war, and so I know what I'm doing.
I'm my own person.
Yeah, I'm
gonna
probably
do this.
more dangerous than you are, John Sheridan. So chill out.
Yeah, we got a fantastic email about this like Delenn and Sheridan stuff, because you get that at the beginning where he's like, oh man, I guess Delenn never listens to me, and then they have this incredibly tender conversation after they escape the Drock and like get to safety. She's back on B5 and she's talking to Sheridan, and they basically their conclusion is that they should probably spend some time apart because a lot is happening in both of their lives and they need some space, and they're not doing good for each other right now. And it's one of those like really hard to have conversations in a relationship where you know that, for a lot of your lives you've been great for each other. She helped him get through the Shadow War. She helped him gather all the people together and come into his own as a commander. And now it's like, yeah, but both of us have goals that are often in opposition to each other, and we're not helping each other with this like weird secrecy stuff. So let's put it on pause for now.
Yeah, and I thought it was really powerful when she comes back and sees that he's totally remodeled one of the rooms to be this like broadcast center.
Right.
And she says, like, ever since the end of the Shadow War, you've been obsessed with Earth. That's what you care about. And that's your mission. But I'm not from Earth. I have to tend to my own home.
We can't help each other right now.
Yeah. And that felt like the most honest that they've been with each other, probably for their whole relationship.
I think so.
Because the courtship stuff, the cutesy, like, now we're going to have sex for the third time, and this time you get to see my elbows. Like, that never really... That never really felt real to me. It felt like that was just kind of an extended joke, but it didn't really feel true to the characters. But this feels true to them. Of like, hey, we like each other, but this isn't. What we care about is our duty to like our people over ourselves and over each other. So let's just split up for now.
Yeah. Bummer, but has to happen.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny to compare, not funny, but important to compare Sheridan working on like, we need to set up a public radio station on Babylon 5. And Delenn is like, I need my people to stop eating each other. They're working on completely different scales. They can't work on the same level playing field.
They're fighting different forms of societal deterioration, right? Like Sheridan's fighting a sort of autocratic fascist regime, and Delenn is trying to avert a civil war.
Unite a people.
Yeah, so they're slightly different projects, but both important in their own way.
I don't really have any stray notes about this episode. Do you, Mr. Magellan?
I don't think so. I feel like there was something from the beginning of the episode that was there anything else to the Ivanova stuff? Did she do anything else this episode?
So she's the one who is assigned to work on The Voice of the Resistance.
Yeah, and he's like, come on, you got a great face for TV or whatever.
Yeah.
Oh, the fucking scene when Sheridan like has this great idea, and then he barges in on Ivanova's room.
Yep.
And then he's like, hey, I have this idea. And she's like, okay, I'm in my pajamas. Like, you don't, I mean, I'm gay, but like, you don't think I'm looking sexy? That went on.
He's
for
like, yeah, nice dress. Yeah, sure. Anyways.
I thought that was pretty funny. I thought it went like a little longer than I expected, but that's one of those moments where it was like, oh, okay, we're kind of joking around. This episode.
It's deeply human to be like, yeah, for sure. Voice of the people, love it, great.
Looks great.
But like, do you want no? But on both sides, like for her to be like, yeah, I'd love to work for the Voice of. I guess if I have to, you're not gonna give me the choice. I'm dressed up though, like I'm in my PJs. Do I look great? Do I look flames right now? Like, what do you think? He's like, yeah, you look fine. Can we do a job, please? It's just, I've had this kind of conversation before. It's very nice.
Yeah, it's funny.
And then the whole like you have a face people trust, and she's like, I'd rather have a face people fear.
I've been reading Machiavelli in my sleep. Or
in
bedtime.
my not sleep.
Yeah, when I'm awake.
Uh,
Yeah.
so yeah, that stuff gets finished in the second episode. But Ivanova, yeah, she's on the Voice of the Resistance now. I think
Yeah,
this
we'll
is a
see where
place
that
for her to
goes.
go, and it's going to be potentially more interesting than like we deal with the aliens on the ship this week.
Right.
Yeah, so that's where we're at. Do you want to just jump right into these emails?
Let's do it.
Fabulous. Our first email comes from Nick of the Brothers in Infinite War. He sent us a couple this week, so we'll kind of go back and forth and get to all of his. Regarding Third Space, since our recording schedule is a little weird, people didn't get a chance to respond to our first Third Space discussion until now. He says, yes, it definitely does have pacing issues. And yes, the elevator scene was a total ad-lib by Jeff Conway because they knew they didn't have enough footage to film the film's needed runtime. So I understand that complaint, but it was still a neat idea in general. I think that elevator scene is the best scene in Third Space. Just because it's very human and it's like Zach Allen's very sad.
The
movie.
first minute and a half of it are the best scene in Third Space, and then it goes on for another
way too long.
3 minutes or whatever.
Right. He also says, my unpublished draft of Third Space 2, Keffer's Revenge, was rejected by JMS, as a zombie Warren Keffer was still unlikable, apparently. I can't wait to read the Warren Keffer book that I'm going to write myself.
I kind of wish that there was still a garbage character on the show.
Yeah,
that we
just
could
someone who we don't
trash.
like.
Yeah.
Because Zach Allen's like good now.
Yeah, Zach Allen's been good. Marcus was good, and he's been good. Maybe he'll get bad again. I don't know, and like John Sheridan sucks, but in a boring way.
Right, in the protagonist kind of way.
Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah, so kind of in a Buffy way, right? Like Buffy kind of sucked in this way.
Like her? Yeah, totally.
Yeah, after she, spoiler for Buffy.
Whoops.
Yeah, she kind of sucked in this way. Well, in a different way. Actually, she was interesting. You know what I'm saying?
Cut all of it.
Yeah, forget it. It's gone. Our next email comes from Pat, he says he's not the evil twin, or excuse me, the not evil twin. It's an important distinction. He's another one of the Crisis on Infinite Brothers. And he says, hello. That's the third space. Like hell, like low hell.
Oh, right. I like it.
Sure. I wanted to say quickly that I definitely agreed with most of your opinions about Third Space. All right, bring it on. But I always liked about it, or what I always liked about it, was its Lovecraftian aspects. Anytime you give me a story about psychic monsters turning people crazy and hubris being used to slap people across their stupid smug Vorlon toilet bowl faces, it sounds like a good time. Yes, it's more of a licensed B5 novel that just happened to be filmed, but there is enough to love. Keep up the great pod. Did we hate Third Space? Is that what happened?
Well, I think part of the problem, and this is just going to happen whenever we do commentaries, is like when you listen to us at the end, we had just watched an hour and a half long movie, and we're a little bit more tired than like when we jump into it, like it's time to do a podcast.
I think there are things to enjoy about it. I still stand behind it's not great.
Yeah.
It's like a kind of meh episode of Babylon 5.
I think it, like he says, feels like a novel that was turned into a movie. Like I'm still reading the first Babylon 5 book, and it's just like we just did another adventure on the ship that doesn't mean anything. Even though, again, the third space jump thing is so important. If it was actually, if they kept it around, oh my god,
Right.
Oh my god, that's the thing. That's at the end of the day is like I like steaks. I like I like salt and a little bit of paprika on my steaks. And I want them to be high.
Juices. I want that to be flowing and juicy.
Juicy steaks.
Steaks. Okay.
Speaking of which, Nick emails us and says, I know it's been a while since the topic of the books came up. I'm not sure if you're still reading them. Regarding that, I think I mentioned I had read all of the Babylon 5 comics except for the last one that takes place after the book whose name I cannot remember. Like the last book. It's like,
I don't know.
It's got a good name. It's like Through the
Fire and the Flames.
Through the Fire and the Flames. Is that's a Vampire Weekend song, right?
Through the Fire and the Flames?
Yeah.
No, dude. No.
No. I don't know.
Yeah,
man.
that sounds like a Vampire Weekend song.
Yeah.
But Through the Fire and the Flames is not.
I don't know anymore.
That's the one from Guitar Hero.
I know that song. I'm To Dream in the City of Sorrows is the book I'm thinking of. To answer Nick's question, I want to read To Dream in the City of Sorrows once we get to where that fits in canon. I just finished another book, and so now I'm trying to get back to finishing book 1 Voices. I'm way behind now. I've decided I'm not going to read all the Babylon 5 books because there's just too many, and none of them are on like the quality level that I kind of want out of my sci-fi fiction.
Mm-hmm.
But I have book 6 as well, so when I get to that one, I'll start talking about it. And I would say for somebody who wants to get into extended Babylon 5 media, the comics are fun. They're super dumb, but they're short enough. There's only like 10 issues of it, like maybe less. Just read those. The books are like really deep into some very silly stuff that you don't care about.
They're on their bullshit, you're saying?
100%, 110%. He also said that he's going to share with us some Crusade media. Since the show never finished its only season, but some of the episodes were written already. We now have the scripts to the Crusade episodes, which we won't look at yet, obviously.
Oh, like the ones that weren't made. We have those scripts?
Well, yeah, I think we have like the thing is that we have all the scripts that were written.
Wow.
So,
okay.
Yeah, it's a super handy thing for when we get there in a long time.
Great.
Ooh, Dan mail. Oh my God, this is the biggest
is
Dan mail of all
chunky
time.
Dan mail. So our next
mail.
email comes to us, or next Dan mail, comes to us from
Dan
our buddy
mail.
Dan. And Dan is emailing us about Atonement and Racing Mars, which were last week's episodes, right?
Uh-huh.
Okay. Dan says, I have a bone to pick with Atonement that goes back to its initial airing with this stupid, empty revelation that Delenn is a child of Valen. He's back, baby.
Tea, Dan.
All right,
the
Dan.
tea.
Presumably, this is a revelation that I spoiled.
Kill us, Dan. Murder us in cold blood.
If anything was exposed early here, it was my frustration. This is a fight that's best had with this episode, but I was ready to have it back when you watched the precipitating events in War Without End. After War Without End, people back in the day were like, hey, it seems mighty suspicious that Sinclair could use the Triluminary to do this very specific thing, and that Delenn, hundreds of years after Sinclair Valen's death, could use it in the same way. And the only reason that Sinclair survived the war in the first place was because the Triluminary reacted to him, implying that it doesn't react to just anybody. But for a while now, JMS has been saying that Valen had no children. And as these discussions happened, JMS was basically like, yep, that's what I said. And maybe it was the fandom fervor, but we were like, the only thing that makes sense here is that Delenn is descended from Valen. We basically just accepted that as fact, even with JMS pushing against it. The pieces just fit too perfectly together for anything else to make sense. Then cut to Atonement, and it's basically, yeah, all that stuff that you were presuming was true actually is true, and I was lying about it. So gaslighting wasn't a widely used term at the time, but it felt a lot like that. JMS was basically like, yeah, I lied because I still want you guys to have surprises now and then. Of course, the reaction was like, this was a surprise? Amusingly, JMS said something to the effect of, do you think we'll still be talking about this 15 years from now? And it's over 20 years later, and I'm still harping about it. Nice. Dan goes on to say more about Atonement. The episode itself seems to understand that it's an empty revelation. Of course, we get the actual revelation that Delenn was the deciding vote that kicked off the Earth and Minbari War. That's something that actually carries some weight here. And even when she learns that she's a child of Valen, that revelation might as well have come across as, you have brown hair, or your dry cleaning is finished and waiting to be picked up. Here's how important it was. It was used as justification to allow Delenn to bang it out with Sheridan. That's literally it. If there's a revelation to be taken at all from this, it's that she knew that she was descended from Valen well before the events of War Without End, and I guess she just needed a reminder. You know, what would have been amazing with this revelation? Oh, sorry, I read that word. You know what would have been amazing with this revelation?
What?
If it had become widely known, and the sudden social upheaval about learning of Valen's origins and the fact that human DNA is already sown among the Minbari would have pushed them further toward the unrest that's brewing among their people, with Delenn as the leader of one of the emerging de facto political confederacies.
Oh, yes.
That would have been cooler.
That's going to happen still.
Maybe. I don't know.
Maybe.
Maybe. And from that, I pivot to Zach's uniform.
Good pivot.
Dan knows exactly what we want to talk about. I like this scene for no other reason than the fact that it continues the running joke that Zach is just physically incapable of properly fitting into any uniform. Oh yeah, because there was like the lady who said that it fit weird.
Yes.
Remember? And it's also this scene that muddies the continuity of Third Space, since that movie would have happened during this episode after this uniform scene, but before Delenn returned to Mimbar and Franklin went off to Mars with Marcus. Back in the not great episode Exogenesis, I had mentioned that the one bright light of that episode was that it was the introduction to the Marcus-Franklin pairing, and here we see it again coming to fruition. Considering the time, I always found it interesting that JMS was able to make them have to pretend to be a couple without it turning into a slapstick farce that ends with someone saying that they're a cute couple and have them chafing and being all weird about it and butching it up with each other to reaffirm with each other that they aren't actually gay. I remember being floored by the idea that the people of Mars were completely oblivious to the fact that a galaxy-wide war had just taken place around them, with their fate in the balance, and that they hadn't even heard a peep about it. I can't remember if it's ever explicitly said or not, but it seems fair to wonder if maybe the people of Earth know nothing about it as well. Yeah, probably not, right?
No.
President Clark seemed pretty keen on keeping secret the fact that his regime was being propped up by an alien government, and a quite evil one at that, when his new propaganda war toward Babylon 5 is that the humans are under alien influence. That's an interesting hypocrisy, right?
Right, exactly.
I don't know if Nick meant for this or not, but his reference to the actress Carrie Dobro. What?
I'm going to say Dobro. This
Okay.
is the person who's in Hypernauts and in Crusade.
Was incredibly timely. It's true that she had a role in Hypernauts and that her work there played a part in her becoming a character in Crusade, but she also happened to be an unnamed Brachyri character in Racing Mars.
Look at that. I don't even remember who the Brachyri are.
Yeah, me neither. I've actively avoided bringing up Sense8 with you guys during this run because I wasn't sure how familiar you guys were with the show or that JMS was writing it, and I didn't want any possible perceptions there to color what you see on Babylon 5. I happen to think that Sense8 is a pretty solid show, but I've never really thought about it being a show that you guys could cover here. Maybe it's still too new. I don't know. It just never occurred to me. And that's from Dan. Yeah, we're still thinking about it. We'll probably pilot it for our new bonus program, Pilot Chats, you can check out for $5 a month on Patreon.
For sure. Yeah, I think I was watching Sense8 while we were watching either Freaks and Geeks or whatever came immediately after Freaks and Geeks. That would have been the timeline.
Avatar?
The what?
Avatar?
I think, no, that wasn't what was after it. Was it?
Yeah.
That was season 3? Wow. Wow, we've been doing this for a long time.
I think so. Yeah, book 3. Avatar.
Oh, okay.
Avatar: The Last Chats book.
Yes, so I must have been watching it at that time. I love Sense8. The thing is, I had watched it before I knew. So I actually knew JMS years ago, just being the guy who
comics, right?
Exactly. Like he's just like a name on like Spider-Man stuff and other Marvel works. But I didn't know that he worked on Babylon 5. So I was just like, oh, this comics guy and the Wachowskis worked on a TV show and watched that. If you ever want to talk to me about how handsome Leto is, or like his boyfriend and all that stuff, or want to push me to finally finish season 2 of that show, I'll do it. It's unlikely that we'll chats it. I mean, we will. I would love to pilot it, but it's a very linear show. Linear.
Okay, I'm into it.
It's such a linear show that it would just kind of be like, and then in chapter 2, this happened,
Right.
and this was good. But we might.
Yeah,
we'll
it's
see.
sort of tougher, I think, for us to. Is it a Netflix show? Is that what
It is. Yeah.
I think Netflix shows by design are weirder for chats because they are built to be binged, and our sort of thing is about kind of rediscovering watching shows incrementally. So,
Right, bringing back that old style, but
yeah.
who knows? It's all the future is a mystery. But definitely people should watch Sense8. It's fun. Our next email is from Merv, who says, "Hi guys, hello. I've tweeted at you as Merv a few times, and I wanted to write for a bit, just some random notes and observations. They say, I remember how the shadows told Delenn, growth through pain and struggle, conflict and war. You of all people should understand this." And they love the way that this line is more meaningful after watching Atonement. So after, big. I would imagine most of the weird Delenn stuff from the first 2 seasons makes a lot more sense now.
Yeah.
Kaylin was on the Great Council, and all of them are actually aware of Sheridan turning into Valen. If you remember back in season 2, Naroon was
Sinclair turning into
all of them
Valen.
were of Sinclair. Oh, that's a mistake on Merv's part. Ooh, got him.
Ooh, got he.
bitching about learning that this was why the Minbari surrendered. Only the Great Council knows that human DNA has infiltrated the Minbari culture. The Minbari tend to be insular, and most of Minbar didn't even show up for the Shadow War, just like Earth Alliance. They gave up on Babylon 5 and Delenn. So it's more widespread who knows. It wasn't just like a couple people know. It's like the whole Great Council knows, but they choose not to tell people. I've sat with this show almost as long as it has existed, and some of the things that seem shocking to you guys, like Delenn holding back, don't really seem odd. This is the email I was referring to when I said we got some good stuff about Delenn and Sheridan. They see it as a cultural difference between the two characters. Sheridan is an American, and honesty is a core value to Americans. But in other cultures on our own Earth, it's culturally acceptable and expected to lie, or lie by omission to save face, or protect someone's honor, etc. Minbari culture seems to be more of a reflection of those cultures, IMO. And then they continue, she doesn't answer to him, and she is a leader in her own culture. What happens on Minbar stays on Minbar. There's no reason for him to know about these internal politics, and it may even be taboo to share it. Just because they're in a relationship doesn't mean he's entitled to know everything about her life. This is a great comment, an important thing to consider, like cultural differences. And, we are both Westerners, but like, there was definitely a difference in understanding too when we talked about that, where I was like, it doesn't seem extremely weird for her to hide something, and you were like, no, it is like bad. Like,
I still stand behind that. It's just bad. I don't know. Like, how are you supposed to have a deep, meaningful partnership if you are like picking and choosing what to say to each other?
Because you understand that you're not like essential to each other, and like even though we're in a relationship, it doesn't mean that like you have access to my entire history.
But then I guess, but then it's just a question of like what level of distance are you maintaining in a partnership? And to me, that feels like more distant than, at least to me, what I would want to have in a relationship like that. Like, he's not entitled to know everything, but I think that,
like, maybe it'd be good for their relationship if they...
Yeah, like, wouldn't she want him to know everything? And...
Well...
It just feels like a distancing thing that kind of undermines the intimacy of the relationship.
Merv actually sends us a few notes from quote, the Great Maker himself.
Okay.
Via the Lurker's Guide regarding stuff we're talking about. Somebody asked him on that post, won't Sheridan be upset when he finds that out that Delenn ordered the war? And he says, in quotes, as like a character saying this, listen, honey, while you were out, I went to the store and I bought some candles. You know how we were always running out. Lanier took the cat in to be cleaned. And, oh, did I mention I was directly responsible for the deaths of 250,000 of your best friends and fellow officers? Pass the sugar. She will never tell him, because it's over. What would be the point except to ruin what they have now? So JMS seems to be taking a bit of a stance.
Yeah, but then what they have now is completely hollow and meaningless.
And they've already decided to spend time apart because they...
If it's based on the omission of this fundamental thing, then I don't see how we can see Delenn and Sheridan's relationship as something that's like good. A good model for a relationship.
Right.
I think it feels in that way kind of fanciful.
His final conclusion is, the reality is that in war, one does what one does. And afterward, as we heal, we try to forget what we did and what they did. He killed as many Minbari as he possibly could. And she was on the Great Council that directed the war. One doesn't go into it. This tracks what you hear from a lot of people who come back from wars. When they get home, they never discuss it. That's also a good point.
Interesting.
Very interesting. Keep up the good comments, folks. We have one last email, Magellan.
Yes. So, this is another one from Nick. Nick says, hey guys, in regards to your crush on makeup-only Ducat, first off, you'll get to see more of him in the next movie in the beginning. So
Yay.
look forward to that. He's another example of stolen names from B5 to Star Trek. So in Deep Space Nine, there's a Ducat. And specific to his alien makeup being more appealing, reminds me of how JMS told the story of Andreas Katsoulis, who is not an attractive man in real life, feeling extra attractive in his Jakar makeup. Girls wanting to touch his chest and all that with the molded rubber. He was also a heavy smoker, so maybe that added to the bad boy appeal. And Nick attached a photo. Let's take a look.
It's 2 photos. I'm going to put these on the Twitter.
Jakar with a cigarette in his mouth. And then one with Jakar holding a baby.
Beautiful man.
That's funny.
I think.
Let me look up
Yeah,
Andreas Chatzylon young.
I just sent you. Oh, I sent you a picture of him like when he was older, when he was Jakar. But if you want to see what he looked like when he was a strapping young man, he had a look. Come on, he's got like a cool gangster kind of look.
He's not like attractive.
Yeah. But I get it. And I think that that's funny that like you put the makeup on and you feel attractive, even if it's like you're playing a scary alien, right? Because it's all about context.
Right.
So, yeah.
Nick goes on to say, in regards to how they handled the marriage plot of Franklin and Marcus, JMS said he was proud of how it was basically a non-issue. The humor coming from being married to someone who wants to play it up and being annoyed about it. I'd like to imagine if one of them was switched to the role of a woman, the jokes would be the same without any changes needed.
That's probably how they wrote that, right?
Yeah. I love the portrayal of the Mars colonies / society on B5. One of the best works on the settlement of Mars is the Mars Trilogy by Kim Stanley Robinson, and you can tell JMS took that and other sources to heart. He in fact was working to be the showrunner for a short time for Spike TV before the project got canceled again. That's interesting. And then Nick finishes up by saying, I won't go into it much, but he's agreeing that The Good Place is a great show. It was my Chatzylon last week. It is by far my favorite in production non-podcast series. In the current 3 seasons, they did what other shows failed to do in 10 seasons in a goddamn sitcom. Well, language. I'm very happy / sad that they're already deciding season 4 will be the last, but we know for sure it will be a solid conclusion. That's from Nick. Yeah, that show's awesome.
I hear nothing but good things. I believe it. Magellan, let's... Oh, man, now I'm looking at the Mars trilogy. Red Mars, Green Mars, and Blue Mars. There's a Dr. Seuss joke in there somewhere that I can't make right now. I'll work on it, and we'll be right back after this brief musical break to discuss conflicts of interest.
Welcome back to Chatzylon 5. The second episode we watched this week was Season 4, Episode 12, Conflicts of Interest. It was written by JMS. Come on our show.
Please.
And we'll say your name normal. Directed by David J. Eagle. It aired May 5th, 1997, and it takes place May 17th to the 19th of 2261. Alan, what happened in Conflicts of Interest?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked. Ivanova sets up to transmit the voice of the resistance. Meanwhile, Garibaldi is tasked with getting someone safely through the station. His former love interest, Lise Hampton Eggers.
Dun, dun, dun.
I heard it as Eggers throughout the episode. I don't know anymore.
What'd you think?
I don't know, man.
Yeah? You weren't crazy about this one?
We got a Garibaldi episode. Didn't we want one of these? I don't know anymore.
I don't know. I just want him to make sense.
And he doesn't. It's not that he doesn't make sense. Like, he's totally doing things in line with character this episode, but I still think he's got programming in his head.
Yeah,
and you know, Mr. Spoilers, you know.
Yeah, I know what it is.
So you're watching this being like, oh, I already know where this is going to go.
Knowing, well, I don't want to mess it up for you, but knowing what it is makes this more interesting to watch.
Okay. Yeah, because for me, it's just frustrating.
Yeah, like when I didn't know what it was before I spoiled it for myself, I was frustrated and confused.
Uh-huh.
And knowing what it is, I don't know anything else except what it is. Like the scene where it's revealed. But knowing what it is, I'm like, oh, this is actually kind of smart. Like the way that he's being characterized.
Also, the end is like, are we going to, like, is Garibaldi off the show, you guys? Like, what are you doing?
I think we're just going to go to Mars.
Okay. Maybe like, because people have taken jobs and then come back plenty of times. That's not.
Well, he's taking a job on Mars and like the shit's about to go down on Mars. So I think we're just going to go there in the show.
Do you think like the whole show is going to be on Mars?
Not everybody. I mean, Delenn is off doing whatever the fuck. And what? We got to get more Londo and Jakar going on.
We got them for about 3 seconds in this episode, and I needed so much more.
Yeah, I was like, what the hell?
Get those boys back. Well, because
Get 'em
Jakar's busy
back.
figuring out how to use his weird eyeball to do pranks on Londo, and Londo's just
Yeah.
keeping his head low, hoping he doesn't get assassinated, basically. So they're in
Yeah.
they're in like wait right now.
Yeah.
Garibaldi
but I
starts.
think most of the humans are going to probably go to Mars.
I'm into it. I was mostly asking because I really like it in shows where the hub changes partway through the series. I just like that a lot. Maybe it's
Yeah.
like my background is like playing a lot of video games, but whenever it's like we're on moving shop and now everything's different, we have a different base of operations, I'm like, hell yeah. But
Oh,
Babylon-
you know what? Oh, sorry. Yeah. Go ahead.
B5 is inexorably tied to the station, obviously. It has to be.
Something I just remembered kind of rubbed me the wrong way from the first episode was when they were lecturing, when Franklin and Marcus were lecturing the Martian rebels.
Yeah.
And they were like, it's really important to Sheridan that we're attacking the man and not the office. Like,
Oh,
talking
interesting. Yeah, we don't hate the president. We just hate this president.
Yeah, I thought that was... I didn't know how to feel about that. Like, it's clear that this is a sort of preserving the status quo kind of thing instead of Sheridan seeking a total revolution.
Oh, I don't know. I don't trust I don't think the show has time to do that.
Yeah.
But it's not shocking to me that Sheridan would be the type to be like, if we assassinate the president, then we'll get a better president. And it's like, no, that's not how dictators work. There's always a replacement. The Hydra always has more heads, you guys.
It just feels like a very Joe Biden approach.
Yes. Yeah. 100%.
Like, hey, things were fine before, so let's just go back to when things
Let's just
were
do
fine.
that. We'll get a good
Make
president.
America fine again.
Oh,
That's Joe Biden's whole campaign, you guys.
Blarg.
Yeah, he's Blarg.
Garibaldi is the center of this episode, and he opens with an extremely corny scene, where he continues to work this job of like reuniting people from the war, and this guy comes up to him
Like
at a
finding their
restaurant.
stuff. That's like his thing.
Yeah, he's finding his stuff, and in this case, he's finding this guy's daughter, and the guy's like, Garibaldi, it's been 3 weeks. I need my daughter. I can't live without my daughter. And he's like, turn around, and it's like a moment. It's like one of those like wedding or like makeover shows.
Yeah, the way that it's like, where did she come from? Just out of frame.
And she's best friends with Garibaldi. Like, she hugs him at the end of the scene. And it's like, guys, it's just corny. It's not bad. It's just like, ugh, really? Like, Garibaldi just has this silly thing now where people ask him to bring their families together or get them stuff, and he does it. And that's his whole life. It's very low intensity, you know?
Yeah.
He's considered imminently expendable. And there's a scene later where Sheridan is like telling Zach Allen that you have to get his stuff, like get his weapon and his clearance erased as soon as possible, because Sheridan now knows that, or suspects that something is up with Garibaldi. And so just to kind of keep the record clean, he's like, Zach, you have to be the one to do it. Give me his gun and clear his security clearance.
Yeah.
Like take his identity card and all that.
Mm-hmm.
We get that scene, which I think is one of the most emotionally resonant. Like, this is the scene I want between Zach and Garibaldi, where Zach is like, yeah, I need your gun is the thing. And I need your identity card. And he's like, sure, here's my identity card. You're not getting my gun, bud. I need my gun because the Second Amendment, and then Garibaldi turns into a gremlin.
Mm-hmm.
This, like, in isolation, him being like, you don't get to take my gun because I already have it, and you, like, if you try to take it from me, I will shoot you kind of thing, is very frustrating.
Yeah, it is another moment that feels just off, right? With Garibaldi, because he knows, just like Sheridan says, he knows the rules. And the rules are you're supposed to give in your gun. And as the security guy, I'm sure Garibaldi would agree with that. So it seems weird that he's refusing to do it, and he's getting mad at Zach for like doing his job. Because it's what Garibaldi would do if he was in Zach's position.
Right. Sometimes you got to be the cop to the other cops. And he's like, Zach's like, are you mad at me? And he's like, I'm not mad at you. I'm not mad at anyone. It's a bummer that you're the one who had to do it. You're like my friend, and they had to send you. And he's like, anyone else would have done the same thing, Garibaldi. Like, don't take this personally.
Yeah.
And so he takes the gun back because he's like, you can get another gun. You have a gun license. You just can't have this one because this one has military grade stuff and it doesn't belong
it's
to you.
a fucking powerful, dangerous weapon.
Right. And immediately he's like, well, actually, okay, the next Garibaldi scene is the best Garibaldi scene. This is the scene that's like the star of the episode. You remember that scene in Breaking Bad where Jesse's really mad and so he plays like a light gun version of the game Rage on his TV?
Yeah.
And it's like, that's how you know he wants to shoot either himself or someone else, is because he's using a gun in a video game. Garibaldi is watching the episode of Looney Tunes where Daffy Duck is mad at the creator of the show who then erases him, and it turns out that it's Bugs Bunny. And it's like, they really licensed like 2 minutes of Looney Tunes to do convenient Garibaldi character development.
Yeah, and he's like, he has it memorized, so he's like, ooh, knows right when the explosions or the falls happen. Or whatever.
Right, he's seen this scene a couple times.
I didn't even notice that was the particular... I wasn't paying that close attention. I just saw that it was Daffy Duck, but that's pretty charming.
Yeah, the convenience of it is all there. Just like feeling like the system is against me, feeling like this person who's treated as my higher power gets to erase me when I don't want them to, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Garibaldi does see himself in Daffy Duck. He truly does.
Yeah.
It's bonko. God bless the man. And then a dude walks in and is like, hey, I need you to sneak past your former security team. Do you want to do it? And he's like, maybe I shouldn't. And then he blinks and remembers that Zach Allen took his gun away. And he's like, actually, I'll do it.
Actually, fuck those guns. I'm mad.
I want a gun back.
I'm mad at Zach.
This is petty, Garibaldi. This is just petty, my friend.
Yeah, I found this hard to believe. Like, all this stuff where he's working with this dude. This dude's clearly shady as hell.
Extremely.
So, I don't know why he's, like, so cool with working with him.
And then in a moment of brilliant plot convenience... Not brilliant, very corny, very like easy, obvious stuff. The person he has to escort is his girlfriend Lise from season 2.
1 is when we first learn about her, I think.
Okay. And she had been on the ship before, and I love that the continuing.
I think we learned about her in the episode where we learned that he was an alcoholic. Maybe.
Oh right, because he says like, I can forget you, and I don't need a drop of alcohol to do it. He says that in this episode. In that one, she was like, and I met someone else, and we had a kid. And he's like, wow, my life sucks. And then in this one, she's like, by the way, that guy cheated on me. Then he divorced me. And since I'm Martian born and the courts are racist, I didn't get my kids' custody.
Yeah, so now I'm not married, no kids.
But
so that's cool.
I'm dating the richest man on Mars.
I'm married to him, so sorry.
I married the Monopoly guy.
Mm-hmm. And she's like, I didn't tell you because you seemed happy. He's like, when I was like lovelorn and wanting you back, I seemed like happy with my life.
Did you really think so? And she's like, yeah, I don't know. Lisa's honest in a way. She's goals in that she has all this horrible stuff happen to her. And she's like, but I still really want to secure the bag. Like I still want a good life and a good job.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But just imagining her life is so funny that she was with Garibaldi and she was like, I don't want to go to Babylon 5. I don't believe you and your alcohol problems are going to be solved by this place or by Sinclair or whatever. So I'm leaving you. I met another guy. Actually, that guy sucks. Actually, I don't get anything anymore. My life sucks. Actually, I'm now married to the richest man in the world. Like, what a glow up is what the kids call that.
Something about her seems off, right?
Uh-huh.
Well, it's either like she's going to be secretly evil, or she's going to be caught up in something that is evil, but she was doing it for good reasons, or was threatened into it or something. Mm-hmm. And regardless, like, she's going to die, right?
Yes.
Like, they're going to kiss and then she's going to die.
That's what I think, most likely. Well, because also the stuff she's dealing with in this episode is, like, hinted at and really exciting. Right? Because she's talking about how, or not, maybe not exciting, but it's something about telepaths, and there's an illness that's affecting just telepaths, and it works like a virus, and if we don't figure it out, then telepaths are gonna start dropping like flies, and it might be like a planted virus by someone. And so we have the data about that, and we need to get it out of here. And so she needs to be protected. He's like, I guess I'll do it. A job is a job. I can separate my deep attraction to you.
Okay, here's my guess.
Yeah, hit me with your guess.
I think that super rich Mars guy wants to use the disease to kill
Yes.
telepaths so he can take over Earth, right?
Easy. You'd never trust a rich man. Like, what do you...
Yeah.
Easy,
All right, great,
easy.
Great, yeah.
It's got to be something like that, where she's just betrayed, and then she's like, actually... And then she gets back with Garibaldi. That's where I think it...
Yeah, and then she gets killed or something.
Like, tragically. You're like, no. The one thing I liked out of her plot was just the whole... I didn't get custody of the kids because the courts realized that I was born on Mars, and they don't like me. And I was like, wow, that hurts.
That was interesting.
Mm-hmm. And then this just becomes like like a Die Hard thing where they're in a bar and some guys just instantly start shooting at them from across the bar, and they're
Hey,
chased.
Garibaldi!
That was weird. That acting is very bad. The guy who's like, oh, I recognize you. You're this guy. Pew, 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 pew.
Yeah.
They have to go through some vents. He tries to get out through a door, but this is the exact moment when Zach turns off his security clearance, and he's like, they took away my clearance. We're gonna die.
Yeah, I like the scene where Zach was just hanging out. He's like, computer, anything weird happen? The computer's like, one dude broke into the shit, and you didn't even notice.
He's like, oh, man.
Who was it? It was Garibaldi. What? Oh, did he have an extra identicard? Oh, man.
The computer does more work than Zach Allen does in this episode.
Yeah, exactly. He didn't think to investigate that at all. He's just
just sitting in the back eating an extra pizza from that pizza he got with Lita.
He had some chips. He's like, oh shoot, is this what happened? Should have seen that one coming.
He's like, oh, quick, I know he already did all his stuff, but delete his clearance. And the computer's like, you got it, you lazy asshole. He has to go through some vents, and then he realizes that the people who are chasing them are knowing where they're going to go before they go. And he's like, wait a minute, they must be telepaths. And so he chases them. He's too late, though. And Zach is the one who corners the telepath, because Zach gets to be competent for 5 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
And then I don't know what the line they say is, but they're like, long live telepathy or some crap like that. And then they all cyanide cap. Yes, and then they all cyanide themselves and die. Yeah. That's dark. This is like a dark season of TV.
Yeah.
Oh, to the future is what they say, which is silly. They all die. Garibaldi gets there a second late, and he's like, damn it, Zach. Except I can't say damn it, Zach, because I'm not your boss anymore. These guys got out, whatever. And then a dumb thing happens where Lise leaves Garibaldi one more message on his computer, but he's like, I gotta let go. Delete the message. And it's like, bro, play the message!
Yeah, I was so
asshole.
annoyed by that.
It's
probably her
worst.
telling him what's actually going on.
100%. I wish we could have cut to... we kind of are. We at least we learn that we meet the Eggers guy, but we don't get to see that message. It is probably like, hey, Mr. Eggers is a bad guy. Get away from him.
Didn't you read my message?
I told you. I clearly told you. Get out of there. Yeah. 2 seconds later, he's called by the guy, and the guy's like, hey, I saw your work helping out my wife, who's your ex-wife. Great job. Happy to have you.
Come over here to Mars.
Do you want to work with me as a retainer on Mars? I'd love to pay you. I'd love to call you. And Garibaldi's like, sure, sounds fun.
Yeah, he's plotting something with Garibaldi, right?
Yeah.
He doesn't just need a bodyguard.
Exactly, if they're going to do something nasty.
Yeah.
I don't know. Then the episode actually ends on a good note, which is that the truth is back in business, as Ivanova ends the episode with the first broadcast of the Voice of the Resistance.
I'm into it.
I really wanted to see like the Warriors radio broadcast where it's just Ivanova, her mouth up to a microphone being like, hey, what's up, cool cats? It's me, Dr. Ivanova, here to tell you about the things going on in the world. I wanted her radio voice thing, but it was just her being like, hey, guys.
President Clark isn't very groovy.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And we're going to have to take him out. But no, it's just her being like, they are doing this, and it's our turn to do the opposite. The truth is back in business. Good. This is not a dense episode, to be honest with you, bud.
No, it's not. I wanted to talk about... So Sheridan's whole thing in this episode is like, my girlfriend's gone, so now I can do all the stuff that I had on my to-do list. Which is... it's a big mood, honestly.
Like catching... Yeah, it kind of is. So, it's like catch up on TV shows and go to the fucking... fart in public and...
Yeah. So one of those things is getting Garibaldi's stuff away from him. Oh.
Yep. Right.
Sorry. Another one of those things is bringing in Londo and Jakar for his... what is his plan again? To patrol the space around their planets or something?
Whose plan?
Sheridan's plan.
Oh, I don't know. Oh, no.
He wants to, like, patrol space to fight the
Drock
or something?
He's just looking for them? Like, yeah, I'm just going to, like, hunt them down, basically?
I think so. And he's trying to get worlds to agree to let him do that. I don't remember exactly. But he brings up the Drock, and Londo says, like, they know about the Drock on Centauri Prime, and they're like they're the boogeyman.
Mm-hmm.
So that he's going to go somewhere, I think. And then we have this exchange where Londo and Jakar both refuse to make it look like they're letting Babylon 5 help their worlds because it will make them look weak.
Mm.
Can't you guys just get over it?
You won a war like, you killed an emperor together. Like, you guys can just be helpful. This is mutually beneficial.
We can be chill now. It's fine.
I think they're just afraid. They're at a really sensitive point. Basically, yeah, you have it right. I'm looking at the summary here. He wants to, since the Drock are like going and taking over or nabbing up worlds, he wants to send the Rangers out to different places to fight them. And if they're placed somewhere without people's permission, then it's going to cause more problems. So he's like, if I put them on, Centauri Prime and the Narn homeworld, then everyone will think it's fine because you guys used to fight each other. And if you agreed on something, wouldn't that be good for the world? And they're both children in this moment. They're both like, no, we can't. And, reluctantly, Londo's the one who's like, yeah, I guess lives are at stake. I can't let more people be killed. This is fine. What was the context in which Ivanova ran into our favorite side character of the whole series? Remember how we said we wish, like, literally an episode ago, we said, or one half ago, we said, man, I wish there was a character we both agreed that just sucked.
Mm-hmm.
Zathras is back, everyone.
Oh, you're right.
Stop!
You're right. That scene was silly.
Oh, don't keep doing the Zathras thing. I liked Captain Jack more than I like Zathras.
I don't even remember who Captain Jack is.
That was last week.
Captain Jack, you're right. Yeah, he was fine. Zathras is annoying. Zathras is cute for, 30 seconds.
Uh-huh.
And then there's just more of him.
Yep.
And now there are apparently 10 Zathrases.
Yeah, he's like, you didn't meet Zathras, you met Zathras. And it's like, he's just doing a who's on first bit constantly, which is not funny.
I thought that was funny at first. You didn't meet Zathras, you met Zathras. But then he explained it. CC, because Zathras is pronounced Zathras, but Zathras is pronounced Zathras. And at that point, I didn't want to listen to him anymore.
This is on Epsilon 3, by the way, so we know that Zathras is now working with Drawl on this Zathras.
Yeah, that's always been what Zathras is all about, right?
Yeah, he works with Drawl and works in the time continuum.
Yeah.
So he's like, I have 10 brothers. You haven't met all of them. You've only met 2 of them so far. The good news, we don't see Zathras again for the rest of the series.
Really?
Yeah, that's it. That was Zathras.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So
I'm actually kind of bummed about that.
Right? I honestly, at the end of this, was like, man, I wish I liked Zathras. I wish I was excited to see him.
What a weird last moment to see Zathras.
Right?
That's so strange.
I wonder if he's in the beginning. I don't think so. I doubt it. But that'd be funny if it was just like, meanwhile, in 2238, Zathras is like, hey guys, I'm in the background. I float through time and space and with all my brothers.
We're about to annoy that one iTunes reviewer who says that we look things up when we're not supposed to.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Oh, I'm not going to look things up.
Or was that iTunes? They gave us did they give us a 3-star review?
Oh, shit. Let's fight them.
Maybe it wasn't iTunes. Maybe it was something. I don't know.
Is there an easy way to look at iTunes reviews? I wish there was.
Yeah, go to iTunes.
Oh.
That's easy.
Yeah, but aren't they getting rid of iTunes?
Yeah.
Oh, I got to go to Apple
right.
Podcasts. You're right.
Who's the guy on Epsilon 3?
Drawl?
Yeah, Drawl. I'm just going to look up if he comes back.
That's such a bad idea. What are you doing?
I wanted to see if... Okay, I figured it out.
Okay, good. I'm glad that you figured it out. When does he come out?
I don't have to tell you. Do you want to know?
What does he come back?
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Easy enough.
Yeah, that's it.
Is he in the beginning? No, he's not. Great. Great show.
Yep. Okay, good.
So this
they
happens,
really just didn't use Epsilon 3 much at all, huh?
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
I want
Seems like a
more.
missed opportunity.
I want more on planet stuff.
Yeah.
Not necessarily, obviously not. That's why I'm excited for Mars. It's just give me more Mars sets. I have this like obsession with seeing different sets because it's fun. It's like they get to do different things and move around different spaces.
Yeah.
Anyways, yeah, Zathras boring is in there for 2 seconds for Ivanova to be like, wait, I'm confused, huh? And Garibaldi's a mess, and he's going to Mars. He's going to work for a rich man and probably do something terrible. And the truth is back in business.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what we got for this week. I don't really have any stray notes about this one. I'm curious, though, Magellan, what are we watching next week on Chatzylon 5?
Well, we're recording this on July 15th, which is Amazon Prime Day. And it's a day where workers in Amazon's warehouses are going on strike. Mm-hmm. So in solidarity with those workers, we are not going to read the Amazon summaries because fuck Amazon and fuck Jeff Bezos. Every billionaire is a policy failure. And
big facts, big facts.
Power is bad, but it's the only place to stream Babylon 5. So,
legally, right.
So we're in a tough spot. And we're going to read the summaries that were sent to us by Danny. Here we go. So next week we're watching Season 4, Episodes 13 and 14. First is Season 4, Episode 13, Rumors, Bargains, and Lies. Delenn tries to work with an old rival in an attempt to dismantle the brewing Minbari conflict.
Nice.
Into it. Minbari stuff. Very cool. And then, more Minbari stuff. Season 4, Episode 14, Moments of Transition. The warrior caste demands Delenn's surrender, as Delenn tries to stop the conflict once and for all.
Oh.
So it seems like we just get the full Minbari stuff.
Before we dive into Mars, we're going to get all the Minbari stuff. Sure,
yeah,
I'll take
like
it.
Yep.
Oh, man. Yeah, we have 2 weeks until Mars, just from these little summaries. Mm-hmm. The week after, we're going back to Mars. Great. Thank you, Danny, for those. And fuck you, Amazon. Fuck you, Jeff Bezos, et cetera, et cetera. Let's take it to the plug zone, Magellan.
Woot, woot.
Woot, woot. If you would like to email us questions, comments, or concerns, please do so by sending those over to chatspod@gmail.com. That is chatzpod@gmail.com. We also have a Twitter account @chatspod where you can tweet at us and find little goofs about the podcast. Mm-hmm. You can rate us 5 stars on iTunes and leave us reviews if you think that we're good or bad or whatever. I like to think we're good. That's my secret. He does too. And if you'd like to really be a real one, as the kids say, we encourage you to check out patreon.com/chatspod, where every month we're putting out content. Every week we're putting out content now because we hit a stretch goal recently. So on 1 week you might get a Chats Nights where we talk about just stuff and things and items.
Yeah, it's just a kind of chat. I mean, this is all a chat show, but it's just a hang out and talk about whatever kind of show.
I love it. And then on the off weeks, you'll get pilot chats if you're backing us at $5 or more, and that's one where we try to pick the next Chats show and watch the first episode of a bunch of different shows and discuss them. We just put out the episode about Evangelion last week, and we should be talking about Argon, the Netflix show Argon, next.
It's a Korean show
drama
that's like kind of newsroom.
Korean newsroom is like the short pitch, yeah.
Yeah.
And we loved the newsroom. No, it's honestly like what if the newsroom was good and was about a country that's not America? And I'm like, oh hell yeah, give me that.
Yeah. So we'll check it out.
Mm-hmm. And then every month we also do commentary chats where for just $1 you can listen or more. You can listen to us watch a movie and you can sync it up with your movie and watch it at home.
Yeah.
It's like a sort of MST3K but for chats and without the little funny cartoon heads.
Yeah. And it's kind of less about us being like hilarious commentators and more just about like us picking movies that we have questions about.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of
that's a good way to word it, what it is.
Yeah. Like we're not watching movies that are bad purposefully, just movies that we're like, what's the What does this one have to say?
Mm-hmm.
Is this still good? Did people miss this? Those are the kind of things we like to explore.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Magellan, I want to know what your Chatzylon for this week is. Since we don't do plugs like normal for ourselves, we do Chatzylon.
Yeah. I recently started listening to a podcast that I had been subscribed to for a while, but I hadn't started listening to yet. It's on Maximum Fun. It's called The Art of Process. It's hosted by Amy Mann and Ted Leo. And they're both singer-songwriters. I knew of Amy Mann. I didn't know who Ted Leo was until listening to this. They release episodes every other week, I think. So it's pretty easy to catch up. They've only done 13 so far, so you can catch up and stay current without too much hassle. And basically what they do is they bring on creative people and just ask them about how they got into their particular creative field, what their kind of thesis is on their work, and what challenges they face, how they work, what they think about when they're creating something, a kind of like behind the scenes look at just how things get made. Because it's probably one of the most fatal myths to people starting to be creative is the myth of genius.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you think that every person whose work you love is just this kind of naturally, insanely gifted, untouchable genius, then you're going to look at your own work when you're like starting out and you're supposed to be messing up and learning, and you're going to say, oh, this sucks. I'm never going to be good, so I'm just going to give up. And I think this show is a great antidote to that. Yeah. And Amy Mann and Ted Leo they know a lot about music, and they also are just like appreciators of all forms of art. So it's really cool to hear them learn things about different media and different forms of art as you do. There are a couple episodes that I liked a lot. The first one with Wyatt Cenac is pretty good. The second one is with Rebecca Sugar, who's the creator of Steven Universe.
Hey, hell yeah.
And so she talks about like what Steven Universe is all about, and the way that she kind of learned how animation works and what animation is able to do. There's one with a guy named Eli Addy, who was a speechwriter for Al Gore, and then he became a writer on The West Wing. So he kind of compares like the speech writing process to the script writing process and how they're like actually really different from each other. And then one that I recommended to Alan was with a woman named Emily Nussbaum, who writes for The New Yorker. And I think or maybe not The New Yorker, The New York Magazine and The New York Times and Slate. So like kind of all over the place. She's a TV critic. And she shares her sort of approach to TV criticism. So lots of interesting conversations on that show. Worth checking out. Those are my recs. Alan, what about you? What's your Chatzylon?
Fabulous, yeah. I definitely need to check that out and get into that backlog because I love, like I was talking about last week with the Pony Smasher videos, like the cutting past that idea that things are beautiful and simple, and just learning like, oh, it's a lot of mistakes actually, and a lot of like messing up in interesting ways.
Mm-hmm. And I think it also helps to know the amount of thought that's put into something, you know?
Yeah.
Like, it's not like people are just effortlessly creating beautiful things. People have strategies and processes to come up with what they create.
Journey, not the destination, right?
Yeah, it sort of glorifies that. The art of the process.
The art of process, according to iTunes.
Process, yeah.
I have a book to recommend people this week.
Yeah.
So it's called The Daily Stoic, 366 Meditations on Wisdom, Perseverance, and the Art of Living. It's by Ryan Holiday and Stephen Hanselman. I didn't expect to be interested in this book, but I was actually coincident. Like, the story of how I found it was funny. I was watching Hassan Minhaj, who hosts Patriot Act on Netflix. He's a comedian. He used to work on The Daily Show. On Patriot Act's YouTube channel, they have like they're called deep cuts, where when they're in the off season, they do little like 15-minute mini episodes where he just has somebody on the stage with him. And I think these are like what is used to warm up the crowd usually if you're actually attending a showing.
Yeah.
But they put them out as episodes like every week for people who are just subscribed on YouTube.
That's
and yeah, they're awesome. He did a really, really funny one with Jesus and Mero, actually. The three of them have like amazing chemistry. But he had on Charlemagne the God, the radio host and sort of media critic, who's actually a really interesting guy. I know like people have mixed opinions of him, but he was talking about anxiety and how he goes to therapy and all this stuff. And he just mentioned off the top of like while talking about stuff how he does the daily affirmations. And that's one of those like buzzwords that I had heard a lot and never like cared to learn about. So I was like, what? Actually, like what daily affirmations does Charlemagne the God subscribe to? Like where does he get those from? Yeah. And he gets them from this book, actually, from this daily Stoic book. So I picked it up. It was pretty cheap online. You can also get like a paperback copy. The idea is that every day you open up a page of it. They're all dated, and you just get it's one sentence or like a quotation from a Stoic philosopher. So Stoicism, if people don't know, the school of Hellenistic philosophy back in the 3rd century, like ancient Greece and ancient Rome and all that stuff, kind of emphasizes the idea that the path to happiness is to accept the moment as it presents itself, not allow yourself to be controlled by desire or pleasure, and use your mind to understand the world and do your part in nature's plan. That whole thing. Yeah. Kind of early similar to like
similar.
Right, Buddhism kind of stuff. The weird thing about learning about Stoicism, like completely separate from this book, is that there's actually like a rising community of people using the principles of Stoicism to justify like really serious misogyny. Like literally, if you Google like Stoicism misogyny, there's like articles about people on Reddit. Like this is the same people who do like red pill stuff on Reddit. So obviously not interested in it for that. More just like I'm reading this book because it's got me thinking a lot about like how easily we criticize ourselves unfairly and how much we can often be our worst and get in our own way. And at the end of the day, you can just be your best ally and be your most helpful person. So like, just as an example, I'm going to read you guys the July 15th meditation. So the quotation is, when you've done well and another has benefited by it, why like a fool do you look for a third thing on top? Credit for the good deed or a favor in return? And then what's great too is that you get that, you can think about that and chew on that. That's a quote from Marcus Aurelius. And then the writers of the book actually put a paragraph that's like, hey, here's how you can apply this. Like, here's that, and then here's us applying it. Okay. And they say, the answer to the question, quote, why did you do the right thing, should always be because it was the right thing to do. Easy stuff. After all, when you hear or see another person do that, especially when they might have endured hardship or difficulty as a consequence for doing the right thing, do you not think that is a human being at their finest? So why on earth do you need thanks or recognition for doing the right thing if it's your job? It's just like, huh. And what's great is like I definitely don't subscribe to all the ideas in this book so far. I've only read like 3 or 4 days worth, but it's also just really nice to like have a concrete piece of philosophy to read it's meant to be read once in the morning and once before you go to bed, and just be like, what do I think about that? And kind of like reframe your own moral compass. Yeah. I think it's a cool sort of like modern way to get into philosophy, is just get these little nuggets and kind of gauge your own self against them. Cool. So it's called The Daily Stoic, and it's on the internet. Great. That, dear listener, is going to do it for this episode of Chatzylon 5. Peace.